Did Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, provide a blistering satire of the beats of the musical biopic genre? Yes. Does James Mangold, who wrote and directed Walk the Line, which is heavily referenced in the 2007 comedic film, think that temporarily killed the musical biopic? Not even a little bit. Clearly, Mangold hasn't let it stop him. He's back this Christmas with A Complete Unknown, a film that gives Bob Dylan and his rise as a folk artist and pivot to electric, the biopic treatment. The movie follows a young Dylan, Timothy Chalamet, as he journeys to New York, meets folk icons Pete Seeger, Edward Norton, and Woody Guthrie, Scoot McNairy, and begins to find fame as a singer-songwriter. Along the way, he forges a romance with Sylvie Rousseau, Elle Fanning, and shares a romantic dalliance with fellow artist Joan Baez, Monica Barbaro. Mangold isn't remotely worried people will point to Walk Hard as a lens through which to view A Complete Unknown. I found Walk Hard hilarious, Mangold tells Entertainment Weekly. But I also never understood why satire would negate making the real thing anymore. I wasn't frightened off any more than Robert Eggers should be frightened of making a monster movie in the face of Young Frankenstein, or if another filmmaker might be frightened of making a Western in the face of Blazing Saddles. It's unfair to say that if someone makes a satire of a genre, it somehow has put a tombstone in the genre for all time. That seems a little ludicrous to me. Mangold admits that the genre fell out of favor a bit after Walk Hard came out, but he doesn't think there's any correlation between those two things. That was just that they had run their course for that moment, he says. It takes so long to make a movie that I don't think things operate in quite the instantaneous fashion where everyone suddenly stays away. Honestly, Mangold's biggest beef with Walk Hard was the fact that the studio was willing to give the satire a bigger budget than Walk the Line. I was more unnerved that the studio who made the movie paid twice as much for Walk Hard and refused to pay half as much for Walk the Line, he quips. He got the last laugh as Walk the Line grossed approximately $186.70 at the worldwide box office on a $28 million budget, while Walk Hard only grossed $18 million, falling far below its $35 million budget. But Mangold cautions any filmmaker from taking the cynicism, or even good-natured mockery, of a satire too deeply to heart. We live in an age of such irony that sometimes there's good cliches to avoid, but there's also some things that we should hold on to, he notes. Trope is not a negative word if you look it up. There are traditions that are beautiful to uphold, he concludes. For those of us who are in the making movies that mean it business or the earnest movie business, I remain resolutely optimistic and idealistic in my work. I don't want to be satired out of telling the stories. Just because they have echoes in other stories, that doesn't mean they're not relevant.